Okay, so again, good morning. Thank you guys all for jumping in here. I appreciate it. Um, just before we jump right in here, so this meeting is just going to talk very quickly about the process for obtaining signatures for documents outside of what's being done in IEP writer, essentially. And the reason this is happening is because last year there was a lot of feedback that collecting documents specifically for OVR can be challenging. And I got some information from some of you in regards to how you handle that. And the process was not the same across the board. So I thought it would be a good idea to get something consistent in writing so that everybody can follow the same process so that we have proper documentation and all of that information for legality purposes. And again, just so that everybody's being consistent. So Sarah Blos helped out with this project in the beginning, and then we kicked it over and said, hey, Stacy's a good person to help. So Stacy's really been helping me a lot. She did all the screenshots you're going to see that are in this SOP. And so we're going to go through the SOP first, just so you can see what it looks like. I'll put it in the chat as well. And I will share my screen. And then Stacy's going to go over the screenshots of the actual process, just so you can see what that looks like. It's probably pretty similar to what you're already doing. Again, it's just getting something in writing, having something consistent so that everybody's doing the same thing. So that was really why we did this. So I think I just dropped that in chat. Hopefully everybody can see that. Let me share my screen here. And my primary purpose for doing this was really for the OVR consent form. But when we went through this, we realized that there's other documentation that needs collected other than just OVR. So, hey, this is a good thing for us to put together. So what you're seeing here is the SOP. It hasn't been submitted officially on the SOP site. So after this meeting, we want to make sure we didn't miss anything, get any feedback, and then we'll make any final touches and submit this to be an official SOP. Stephanie has already approved this, so this is our last step. You can see here what you might need for this process would be student demographic information, student and parent guardian contact information, disability programming for your student. So, what are they doing right now with us here? And then you might need progress reports if you're doing those from IEP writer. So we'll show you a little bit later what that looks like. But some other resources that are important to have, the Adobe OVR preets, how to obtain electronic signatures. You'll see as you read through the SOP here, the directions at the very bottom, that's where these items are linked, and that's where the screenshots are. And again, Stacy's going to go through those. But so the very first step is make sure you have Adobe Pro, because if you don't, you won't be able to even go through this process at all. So the very first step is, if you don't already have Adobe Pro, which I think everybody does, make sure you do get that. I think put a ticket in with tech or maybe Nick. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe both, maybe email both. And then next, you're going to want to reach out to the parent or guardian to let them know that something's coming their way that they need to complete. Tell them how it's coming. It's coming through Adobe, through their email. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is complete all parts of the form that as much as you can before you actually send it to the family. So a good example of this is the OVR pre-ETS release form. As we all know, if we don't make it as simple as possible, it's already hard enough to get anything back. So we need to fill out as much as we can for these families. So anything you can fill out, which should be almost everything in that form, fill it out, and then we're going to send it to the families. Okay. And then you send the form to the student first. This is important, and Stacey will go over this a little more in depth. But when you're putting in that order in Adobe, student first, then the parent or guardian. And that's the best way to do that. And then you can add me on there too if you want. And then,
sorry to interrupt, Laura.
Yeah.
But you actually want to include yourself, the person who's sending the form first, because that'll give you the ability to fill out that form. So you'll be able to enter all of that demographic information and stuff that you know before sending it off to the parent and to the student. So basically, the goal is when you send it to the parent and the student, they just have to sign and put in any information that maybe you didn't know or you weren't sure of.
Okay, good to know. We might have missed that. Okay, I just made the change. So this is why, again, why we're doing this to make sure that nothing was missed. So send it to yourself first. Thank you, Stacy, and then send it to the student if applicable, and then the parent and or guardian. And then step 5, again, this will all make a little more sense when Stacy looks at these screenshots with you. Step 5, staff documents the form was sent to the student. This is going to be done in the new SIS. And then next to the last step, you're going to follow up with the student if applicable and parent and or guardian. If the form is not received within 3 business days, you can set up reminders, and that'll be on the screenshots as well. And then the very last thing, you're going to need to document any additional attempts to receive forms within the SIS and also on the printed paperwork for the binder. So this was coming down from Stephanie, and this is information I had received in the beginning of the process from Sarah, and then also again recently from Stacy. So putting it in the printed paperwork is important. Stacy, do you want to share your screen so you can walk through walk through these forms below that are linked here with the screenshots?
Or so.
Well, while she's doing that, let me stop sharing. Does anybody have any like initial comments or, do we feel like hopefully this will help us to stay on the same page? Everybody feeling okay about, what I sort of briefly talked about here so far? Thumbs up, waving, any sort of,
Laura,
you guys okay?
I'm sorry I jumped in late, but
No, that's okay.
for Adobe, this is for any forms that can't go through IEP Writer, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, so
Yeah.
make sure you do your attempts through IEP Writer for all things that go through there, and don't use Adobe for things that don't need to be. Like, this is your progress monitoring that goes through Adobe and pre-ETS and all of those things. So just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, so just because you don't see it on here, just think to yourself, if it's not done in IEP Writer, like Steph said, this is the process you should be using, right? So just again,
Can you let in people from the waiting room, please?
Oh, they're very late. Oh,
Yeah.
boy. Okay. Sorry. Okay, everybody should be here now. Okay. Okay, Stacy, are you good? You got what you need?
Yeah, I was talking and didn't realize I was on mute.
I'm
It's
gonna
one of
mute
those
myself
mornings.
now. I know.
So the link that I just shared in the chat, that is the process that we have for obtaining the pre-ETS signatures and getting those forms filled out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go through my Adobe and show you all what it looks like. So you'll just go to adobe.com, log in with Google. I know for a lot of you, this is something you've done countless times. However, there was a really cool update right before we got out of school last year that now you can share templates with your whole organization. So what I did is I made the pre-ETS template for everyone so that you have that to use. You don't have to go through and click all those little boxes and waste all that time. So when you get to Adobe, log in, you just click view account. And I know some people might have like different ways to get into this. This is just the way that I'm comfortable with. So when you get on, up at the top, down here, I already did that. So down here, you're going to click view all apps and services and then access your apps. And once that loads, everyone should be able to find this template. The way that you get there is if you go to documents up at the top. And from there, you're going to click templates on the left-hand side. And under the ones that are shared with you, you could change the status and the filters and make it say shared. But down here, it's the one that says ** OVR pre-ETS release. So that's the one that you will use that has everything populated. If you notice that it ends up being something missing, let me know. I've looked it over countless times, but if I skipped over something, just let me know. So from there, you're going to hit use template. Is everybody good so far? Anyone need me to like go back at all? Okay.
I was gonna say, if you want to log in while she's doing this, just to check things out, that would be, I think, beneficial as well, if you're not
And
already doing that.
also, I know that a lot of times, you know, you watch trainings like this and then you get to do it on your own and you're like, what am I supposed to do? So if you need help, don't feel bad asking. I'll definitely go over it with you. But when you get to your email addresses, you want to type your own in there first. So I'm typing my name in there and then just put in, who do I see? Steph, you're going to be the student.
Cool. I'll be up
And
there.
then Laura can be the parent.
Matt, if you don't think you have pro, talk to tech, please.
And you might have it. So another note about Pro is that you can get it on adobe.com, and there's also the desktop app. The desktop app, you might have Pro, but they might have to update what's on your actual desktop. So that again is just a simple tech ticket. I always do it online. I like the way the online version handles better,
Yeah,
but I know some people.
I do mine online as well.
All right, so when I get up here, up above the email addresses, I'm going to click this complete in any order just because I don't want it to get hung up on the student and say the student doesn't sign it and then it never goes to the parent and then you're sitting there with no signature. So for this instance, I'm going to do complete in any order. And then I always like to set reminder and I do every third day. And then there is information, there's back on the pre-ETS how to, there is a blurb in here that you're supposed to put in. So right here, it's at the bottom of page 5. There is a paragraph here for you to copy and paste. And then for your Spanish speaking families, there's a paragraph right there for you to copy and paste to. And that's already been approved through Marissa Butter. All right, so moving back here, it'll automatically have this file on here. And then you just click next. And then you notice all of these forms, all of these fields are already up there that they are ready for information. So I have it set up that your student is your first person to sign. That's why it's really important that it goes in with you as the teacher first, then the student, because the student signs down here at the bottom and then the parent would be last. So just make sure that you have that in the right order. Otherwise, your signatures might end up in the wrong place. And then Laura would probably send it back to you. All right, so from there, all you need to do is put in, really, you don't have to put in anything else at this point. If you click sign, then send down at the bottom, and it'll come up with this annoying field. The reason it comes up is because you as the teacher are on here as like a signer, but you're not actually signing, you're just filling out. So for this part, if this screen comes up, just hit send. Don't
Hey,
stress
hey,
about it.
Stacy, I'm sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt.
Yeah.
Can we just, I put it in the chat, but can we just remind again that they should be filling out all of this as much as you
Yeah.
can before you're
So
sending it? Very, very important that you do that.
yeah, whenever you actually do this, it's going to give you the chance. The reason it says sign and then send is because you're going to be able to go in and fill it out. So if I click start, I might have to look at those fields, but it should give me the option to fill these in. I think the signatures might have got mixed up though, but you will have the option when you hit sign then send to go in and actually put those names in.
I just got my Adobe sign email.
So the parent can go in and the parent can review all that after you type that information in. So it's important that whenever you're sitting down to actually do this, be ready to fill out that information. That way the parent and the student aren't signing a blank form. All right, does anybody have any questions or anything that you need me to go back over?
And there's also a how-to screenshots for this that Stacy briefly showed, linked at the bottom of the SOP. Also screenshots for the process for progress monitoring, progress reporting. however you want to word that. So there's two different things there. But again, this doesn't just apply to these things. So think about, anything else that you might need to use to get signatures outside of IEP writer. So that's the primary purpose of this. So follow the process, as best as you can. Remember, we need to be making 3 attempts on everything that we do. Keep documentation for yourself. However you do that is up to you. If you have a spreadsheet, if you're a pen and paper kind of person, that's fine. But please make sure that you have, essentially proof that you're making all of these attempts and you're doing this. And of course, we're going to use the new SIS, but as we know, sometimes it's easier just to, pull out that piece of paper or that spreadsheet that we have with our students all nicely organized and trying to go back in to the SIS to figure out, did we make 3 attempts? Did we make 2? Where am I at with this family?
Yeah, I think that following that SOP we discussed at the beginning of the school year, each week make your attempt and then file all paperwork at 30 days. That is the key to all of this. And I'm going to give a shout out to Amy Dodson. We had a question with a 2nd and a 3rd attempt that actually IEP writer messed up with dates. And she was able to go back and get proof that the dad signed on the correct date. So I was able to attach that directly to that 2nd attempt that looked a little fuzzy, but we have the documentation. So always have that backup document. That was key to this whole situation, and we were able to get it. So worked out.
Thank you, Steph, for that. Step 6 on the SOP, make 3 attempts to receive and document all attempts in the SIS, and then on the printed consent for the binder. There's also a note in here. I just want to make sure that this hasn't changed while we have everybody. So progress monitoring is technically only 1 attempt. So we do have that noted. Is
right.
That
progress monitoring only is 1 attempt. You are
okay, so I just want to
does not need 3.
Clear. Perfect.
And Amy put in the chat, don't delete those email receipts. That's what we used as documentation. So that was
maybe
great.
Create a folder on your email and that just says, however you want to label it. I do that a lot with things. That helps me. But however you want to say organize, it's really up to you all. Thank you for the feedback, Steph. Thank you for chiming in. If anybody sees anything, today's your chance to tell me if the SOP, if something looks weird or you think I need to add something in there or some verbiage needs changed, because I am going to submit this by the end of the day to the SOP for official approval. Does anybody have any comments or concerns or anything to help the group?
Val, you had your hand up.
Oh,
I just had a question about the form. Is their PID, is that their student number in Infinite Campus? I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
That's a wonderful question. I need to get clarification on what that is. Actually.
Okay, so there's 2. The PID should be the state number that's in Infinite Campus.
Okay.
That's your Pennsylvania ID. The
PID,
student
is
number
that what they're
is our own number we give them, but the
Okay.
state ID, that's the one that's in Infinite. So that's the one you would fill out. That's the PA ID, PID.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
That's helpful.
I fixed that template, so now it'll show up. One of the signature things was just in the wrong spot, so it should show up. It should be fine now. I'm gonna test it out with a few of my students, but if any of you run into anything where like, whoa, this doesn't look right, just let me know and we can figure it out.
And also, if that PID for some reason is not completed, the likelihood of them rejecting that form is pretty minimal. So don't stress out if you forgot to put that in. They'll work with us on that. It's just demographic stuff. Those are the big things we can't miss. Specifically, I'm referring to OVR in this situation, but
that state number should be on your summary page on Infinite because that's where they all are.
Yep. Maybe we can make a note on that, Stacy, on the screenshots. Maybe we can put in some information about those numbers just for some clarification for the OVR piece. We can stay after and just do that real quick. Okay.
And then I had one more question. When we file these, since it doesn't have the thing that IEP writer does that says 1st attempt, 2nd attempt, 3rd attempt, would it be okay to, do you want us to print 1 and write the dates we sent them on top, or do you want us to print 3?
Stephanie, that would be you.
For the things that need 3, remember progress monitoring does not need 3. But yes, I would just print and write the dates at the top. That would be the easiest way to do that.
Okay, and then it would go, Mary, this is for you in 8 with the extra communication. Okay,
Yes, 8.
It would. Mhm.
okay. And then when we fill out the IEP tracking form for paperwork with Mary, when it says anything extra, it would just go there.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay,
I made a little note there on step 6, thanks Val, that says, on the printed consent binder, print and write the dates at the top. Hopefully that helps with that. Another chat came in, or no, that must be in my, sorry, must be my personal chat. Okay, anybody else? Thank you for that, Val. That's helpful. Anybody else have anything for the group?
I have one
Mary?
thing.
Yeah.
The PA Secure ID is also on the student's demographic screen in IEP Writer. So if they're confused on where to look in Infinite Campus, they can find it in IEP Writer. It's labeled PA Secure ID, and they can use that number.
Perfect, thank you. So we got a couple places to get it. I know the new sys is confusing me a little bit when I'm trying to find certain things, so I'm sure I'm not alone on that island. Okay. All right, well, nobody has anything else. That's it. I'll send an email out to everybody that includes the SOP and the recording for this after Stacy and I make a couple adjustments, and then that should be it. If you have any questions, please just let either of us know, and we'll do our best to help you out. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording. Thanks, everybody.